we broke a major story today. This is major. It's been picked up not by the fake news, but by the real news. In Georgia, a Georgia election official, Mariska Bodison, after we have made, from the Georgia Star News, virtually hundreds of attempts at FOIAs and open records requests in order to get the chain of custody documentation for the drop boxes in Georgia. Finally, Mariska Bodison, she is the board secretary of the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections. She admitted they don't have them. They don't have 24% of the documents necessary by Stacey Abrams' consent decree to count the Dropbox ballots. That means that nearly a quarter of the ballots that came from these Zuckerberg drop boxes, these Stacey Abrams drop boxes at 7-Elevens and wherever they were all over Fulton County, 25% of them, a quarter, have no paperwork associated with them. There's no chain of custody, no time it got picked up, nobody that brought it there. They have no paperwork. 25%. Let me translate this, what this means. Number one, in the consent decree that Raffensperger signed, the feckless weasel Secretary of State of Georgia, the Republican, who's going to get crushed in the next runoff election. That weasel has done nothing. Number one. Number two, he signed the consent decree. In the consent decree, which isn't even legal anyway because it never got sanctioned by the Georgia state legislature, that says that for the ballots in the drop boxes to be counted, there has to be a paper chain. It's called a chain of custody. What time the drop boxes were there, who picked them up, who sorted them, have to sign it, sign your name to the document, drop it off, what time you picked it up, what time you dropped it off. Two people then have to open it, both have to sign it and agree on the number of ballots in the drop box for them to be counted. Right in the consent decree from Stacey Abrams, it says in order for these ballots to be counted, there has to be this chain of custody or this documentation that they're not real, that somebody just didn't open them up, stuff things in them, open them up, change them, stuff other ballots in them. There was no way of telling this. That way you had to have a signature. At 25% of this, they don't exist, folks. They couldn't produce them. And finally, Mariska Bodison, the board secretary, who I don't expect any ill doing from her. She's just trying to comply with our request. She finally said, hey, I just don't have these, but it's only a few. Well, a few is 25%. There were 147 mail-in absentee ballots in Fulton County. These are now under review by Judge Amiro, Gordon Favorino. These are the Bob Cheeley. These are the 150,000 ballots where we have affidavits saying up to 30,000 of these could be counterfeit. That's part of it. 75,000 of these so-called mail-in ballots, 75,000 didn't come in the mail. They came from drop boxes, but the same thing holds. Has to be in an envelope, has to be signed. But there has to be documentation that verifies what box they came from, what time they were picked up, what time they were dropped off. This is in Stacey Abrams' consent decree. And it says in the decree, if there's no paperwork, you can't count them because we don't know where they came from. That's Stacey Abrams' decree, not even the law. Here's what it means, folks. 18,000 of these Dropbox ballots, 18,000 of the 75,000 Dropbox ballots have no documentation that they're real. Zero. No documentation provided. No chain of custody. Didn't follow the law. Didn't follow the consent decree. Didn't follow anything. Just showed up, stuffed in these processing centers, and then moved out. Let me put this in perspective. Joe Biden carried Georgia by 11,000 votes. 18,000 votes that were counted not only could be counterfeit, they could not even be real. They could just be made up and somebody stuffed them in the box. As you know, Biden was getting 90% of all the mail-in ballots, 97% of the so-called counterfeit ballots. 18,000 votes, according to Stacey Abrams' consent decree in Georgia, in Fulton County, should not ever have been counted. Well, if Biden is getting 90%, 80%, 60%, you do the math. If he got 60% of those, there's 11,000. He was getting 90%. That's 10,000 votes for Joe Biden at 90% of 18,000. You do the math, right? 16,000 votes. He only won by 11,000. These votes should not even be counted. They should have been put on the side because there was no paperwork to prove they were real. Second thing, in the November 3rd election, Senator David Perdue was denied an outright victory by 9,000 votes. Had John Ossoff got 9,000 votes under what he got, Perdue is elected senator on the first ballot, no runoff. Well, if there's 18,000 ballots that shouldn't have been counted, and Ossoff's getting 90% of them, again, do the math. Quite frankly, if Ossoff got 52% of them, he's not the senator Perdue is. This is unbelievable. It is the tip of the iceberg. And this breaking story that we did today on Georgia Star News, if you're not going to the Georgia Star News every day, I don't know why. Go to georgiastarnews.com. I'm just not saying this because it's our newspaper. I'm saying it because we broke the story. We worked on this thing for 6 months. The fake news doesn't care. The kingpin of fake news, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, they don't care. They'll never cover it. They'll just say that we're a right-wing rag. It doesn't matter that Mariska Bodison admitted, this is the first person, election official in a swing state, admitting, I don't have the proper documentation to count these votes. Basically, they shouldn't have been counted. Brad Raffensperger does absolutely nothing. Here's the other thing. Of all of these FOIA and open records requests that we have filed, the Georgia Star News and Star News Group has filed over 6 months. Only 57 counties have complied. That means there's another, again, do the math, 102 counties that still haven't responded. This is why Vernon Jones and others, Burt Jones, state senator, Beach Balls, Brandon Beach, Greg Dalaso, many others, David Bellier, running for Secretary of State, have called for a full forensic audit in all 150 counties in Georgia. I'm telling you, folks, Georgia is the epicenter of the vote fraud, that happened on November 3rd. We call this the November 3rd Project. It happened in Georgia. If it happened there, you got to ask yourself, what is going on in Arizona? Why is Biden administration sending in the Department of Justice to threaten people with jail? Why are they trying to squash Wisconsin? Why are they trying to squash Pennsylvania? Why? If the truth will set you free, why are they going through all this effort not to let the truth out? Why is their hair on fire? Why are they having a collective left-wing fake news meltdown on a daily basis? Because they know the truth is coming out. They know they don't have this documentation. They know they stole this election, and this is basic fraud. This isn't machine stuff with servers on the moon and whatever. This is, it's said right in the decree, right in the consent decree in Georgia, black and white. You have to have this documentation to accept the ballots that come in from a drop box. Why do you have to have them? Well, because anybody could put ballots in there. You have to sign a piece of paper. You have to put your name on it. Here's what time I picked it up. Here's what time I dropped it off. Here's how many ballots were there. 2 people have to sign it. Very simple. Even Stacey Abrams wouldn't go that far. Even Stacey Abrams knows, yeah, you got to have some kind of signature because otherwise people can just open the box up, stuff them with whatever they want, drop them off. No one knows for the wiser. They get put in the machines. Folks, this is the biggest fraud that has been perpetrated on the American electoral system in history. And when the Democrats talk about democracy and save our democracy, they just stole this election. You just saw it today. Go to GeorgiaStarNews.com